It's about to start. This is the first congregational meeting I have to lead. The church order mandates that once a year. The members of the congregation must be invited to be informed about the current happenings in the church community. We report on the personal and financial situation, the construction projects, planet changes, and the community life in general. You never really know who will attend this event. In advance, the leadership team discusses the agenda. That's exactly what we did. It's human nature to wonder what will happen if certain people show up. Those who often voice their criticism, who always seem to have something to complain about. These are the people for whom you can hardly do anything right. And then there are the others, who are content with everything. Alongside them, there are those who are simply interested, standing next to those who always attend. After the service, there's a short break, and then it's my turn to lead my first congregational meeting in the new parish. Just before I'm about to begin, an older man from our leadership team comes to my side. It's as if he has looked straight into my heart and mind. He looks at me, smiles, and says quite seriously, "You have to love them all." This sentence has stayed with me throughout my life. I've wrestled with it, fought against it, agreed with it, and tried to live by it. Do we really have to? That's the question I have asked myself. Love everyone with the emphasis on everyone. If it were only a few, or let's say the ones I've already shown affection to, that would be relatively easy. But these everyone also include those critics, those who always complain, those with whom, as we often say, the chemistry just isn't right. But does love have anything to do with chemistry? Right in the midst of these thoughts comes the weak spiritual impulse. The first letter of John states quite clearly, "This commandment we have from him, whoever loves God must also love his brother." So it has nothing to do with chemistry. And yes, it's true. You have to love them all. This is not a matter of can or cannot. It's not something you can argue away with the excuse only if. To love your brother, and I must add at this point, your sister as well, is a logical consequence for those who claim to love God. Conversely, it's clearly stated later, if you don't love your brother or sister, you don't love God either. You have to love them all because Jesus Christ didn't die for me alone. His loving forgiveness, His grace, His attentiveness, and His act of salvation apply to all. Just imagine for a moment what it would be like if we didn't follow His commandment. Then you'd have to always be on the right side. You'd have to always be everyone's favorite. Aside from the fact that this is highly unlikely, there will always be people who don't like me. From their side, they wouldn't speak a word to me, wouldn't want anything to do with me, maybe even fight against me, not with weapons, but with everything else they have. Do we want that? Do I want that? No. I also want to be loved, not because I'm so great, not because I do so many things well, not because I deserve it, but simply because I'm a human being like everyone else. And in Christian terms, because I'm a brother. Let's finally stop passing judgments on people, deciding whether or love can, may, or should apply to one person or another. It's much simpler to stick to the saying, you have to love them all. And one day, the have to will become a may, a want to, and an I will. By the time we reach that last step, I want to love them all, we are aligned with the will of God. You loving God, there will always be people to whom I feel more sympathy at first glance than others. There will always be people who surprise me, who make me realize how wrong I was in my judgment. There will always be people who come into my life in you. Grant me the openness to approach the people you placed by my side. And those who cross my path in life will with open eyes, an open heart, and open arms. Amen.